Hi everyone, I'm back. Today is October 29th. That might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but to people here on the East Coast, it is the 1 year anniversary of when Hurricane Sandy hit. I wanted to film this outside because it's beautiful today. It's gorgeous. This is actually one of the most beautiful days in recent dayage. But I just wanted to kind of talk about what it's been like and how it feels to it have been a year ago. We got some of the least of what could happen. House damage. Our 15-year-old weeping willow went down in the front, which was, horrible, at least for us. Because, we have the picture of me every year, first day of school, with the weeping willow, and it was like a stick, and now it's not there. But also, people came together. Cassie took me and my mom in for the week. Her family fed us. If it hadn't been for her family, we would be eating cold chili, because that's what me and my mom were doing, buying microwavable food. So it was already cooked, but then, not microwaving it, which for the week worked fine. It was just depressing because it really put you in the mindset. I have been privileged. I have never had to deal with lack of food or lack of good food, and just to be in that position, you're eating cold chili out of it, just really brings it home. It's hard to explain, but I felt like it was a whole new experience for me. I've had other hardships in life that I haven't even mentioned on this channel, but that was a whole different kind of hardship. Me and Cassie were coming back. It was a few months after, it was February when we were coming back, and we were going through this town, and we literally saw a tent city, and that was a whole new, that was like, what? And then when Hurricane Sandy had hit, 2 days later, we went out and we made the wrong decision of driving across a highway, and you couldn't drive back across because all the lights were out and they had school buses blocking. And thank God for Cassie. I still wouldn't be home, to be honest with you. I still wouldn't have gotten home due to that. If you don't know, I didn't have electric for 8 days. And when we lose electric, we lose our water as well. I have a farm, you know this, so every day we'd have to go to Cassie's. They were nice enough to let us fill up buckets of water to bring home for the animal. For the past year, I was wondering what I was going to say in this 1 year video, because Hurricane Sandy was one of the most profound moments of my life. And now I'm here and I'm filming it, and I just don't know. I don't know how to put into words how it affected me. It was Debbie. I didn't have power for 8 days, and I don't like to think of myself as someone who is reliant on TV and internet, but it made me realize just how much I do rely on TV and internet. And I know it sounds horrible, but when you don't consume images, when you're used to consuming images every single day, and then all of a sudden it's cut off, and we're listening to the radio. We had our crank radio, and it was the morning after, so I guess it would technically be tomorrow morning. We heard about how horrible the storm was. I remember hearing Chris Christie say there are houses floating down Route 35, and that's when we said, oh my God, what the frick happened out there? What has happened to us? What happened? We all night, we were on the couch in the dark. All the animals were on us. It was like a truce. No dogs were chasing cats, and no cats were trying to make the dogs chase them. We had Woofers, Missy, Britt, and Star all on us. Ella has her own room because her and Woofers, no. And we were hearing the wind pull up the skylight. We were convinced that skylight was going that night. A lot of my friends lived in Staten Island, and one in particular, she really took it upon herself to go out and volunteer, and wound up meeting some pretty amazing people. And so anything I could get my hands on to donate, I would give right to her, and then she'd pass it off. A big thing was hand warmers and foot warmers. I, passed them off to her, and she gave them right to volunteers who were helping. And for me, personally, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just a total cutoff from the outside world. But like, I couldn't even practice. My energy, my level of just being just went down so exponentially. It was the, and I'm trying, I've been trying to rack my brain ever since. Like, what was it? Was it really losing the power? Was it not having power for 8 days that really, like, I let myself get so sad? But no, it wasn't that. I had to put myself back into the mindset of when it was happening. It wasn't the not having power for 8 days. It was the not knowing when the power would be on. But not even that. It was the not knowing when everything would be back to normal again. When I could drive down the street and not see trees on people's houses. When, we did finally have TV. When it was going to be that people were going to, everything was going to be okay again. It was not knowing any of that. And I think that's why it's so hard for me to put into words what happened to me and why I'm so grateful I made the videos at the time, because I can't describe how you felt in the middle of something without sounding petty. Or, I mean, when I say it now, I feel like I just sound petty. Oh, I didn't have power for 8 days. But no, it wasn't that. It was, I don't know, it was pure, raw, human emotion that I had never experienced on that level before. I would walk down my street, I'd walk down a little bit, and then I'd have to come home. And I didn't feel safe in my house. We had a tree down, and from what I was hearing on the radio, after a few days, people were coming to people's front doors and saying they were tree removal companies, and when you open the door or when you talk to them, instead of, removing their tree, they'd loot and they'd steal from you. And it was just so terrifying. I literally walked around my house with a chunk of wood in my hand, just in case. And one time, I did look out my front door, and there was a strange car in the front. And I went out with my, chunk of wood. And I was like, "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" Thankfully, it turned out to be one of my friends who decided to show up unannounced. But, which, don't do that, And, so not only was I experiencing it from, and it's scary to be a young woman in the middle of chaos or perceived chaos. It was so terrifying. It really was. Because remember, I had no way of calling anyone. There was no service, and I didn't have my phone on because we couldn't charge it. The only place you get service was out by the road, in front of the mailbox. So to be so cut off, to be so isolated, it was something I had never experienced before, something a lot of people had never experienced before, the total isolation. And I remember I had to go back to school after a week, and I still didn't have power. So it was every 3 days my mom and me were actually showering at Cassie's house. Because me and my mom are people who are afraid to overstay their welcome. Even though Cassie's family was just so open arms, we're paranoid. We, so, just going to school and hearing everyone. Some people, like me, still didn't have power. And I was talking to one of my friends, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, we lost power." And I was like, "Oh, did you get it back?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, we got it back Tuesday morning." So they had lost power for less than 24 hours. And that was a hardship for her. And I'm just thinking, I'm literally sitting here with 2-day-old hair, 2-day-old me. You don't understand. And people at my school, they had lost their houses. People I knew lost their livelihood, lost their houses, lost their career. Some people had to leave school because they had to try to pick up what had happened. And that got me too. I just couldn't believe that I was part of something so devastating. I still can't believe it. It's been a year later, and you still see damage. You still hear stories. We went down the seaside in February, and the people that were there had just been allowed to come back. We saw the roller coaster. I was a few yards away from the roller coaster, And, I mean, it sounds silly, a roller coaster in the ocean, but there was a roller coaster in the ocean. the boardwalk that I had so much fun on was gone. We went to Ocean Grove just a few months ago, and you could see the remnants of the old boardwalk. Like, what happened? And it's just so mind-blowing to me what happened to us. What happened, and when I say us, I mean New Jersey, New York. You know, the joke of Chris Christie wearing his fleece, we didn't see that. We had to be brought in on the joke and then to laugh at it, you know. And gas rationing, something I never thought I'd have to experience ever. You know, my mom's lived in New Jersey her whole life. She did the rations in the 70s. Sorry, Mom. But, well, you know, as a child. And she never thought she'd have to experience anything like that again. She had never experienced anything like this. I heard horror stories from up in Staten Island. People who left their pets in their house. The search and rescues, when they're looking in the houses, they didn't want to mark houses because they didn't want it to look like what happened with Katrina. That was talked about here, I believe. And then all the power company workers, just to see all the different states that came here. I saw Missouri, I saw California, I saw Indiana, just in my area. And, you know, my dad worked power. He had to go up to Passaic, which is, like, high up from here, almost every day, and he worked long shifts, and he was letting me know, he was telling me about this. And, you know, people would, like, just be getting power back months after Sandy if the other states hadn't helped us. So I can't extend my thanks enough. I got my power back on election day, my first presidential election, and it was actually talked about, well, that I could vote in. It was actually talked about that people would have to vote at Humvees, like military Humvees. You would have to cast your presidential vote there, because they didn't think they were going to have all the voting things up yet. Thankfully, that didn't happen. You know, when I think I have the video up, when I came home and I saw, see, what happened with me, the rest of my street got power back after 6 days, but me and the house next to us are on a different transformer than anyone else, and our transformer physically blew up, and we saw it happen. We saw the blue lightning. We just didn't know what we were seeing at the time. So when we knew that it was just the two of us on this big street in this big state where 95% of people didn't have power, we lost hope. We were like, well, they're never going to get to us, and rightfully so. They have to get to other more important people, because it's two houses on one street. So I didn't think I'd have power back for weeks. I really didn't. And when I came home and I saw them working, I broke down. I just broke down, and I thanked them. I didn't go up to them when they were working, obviously. I don't want to, like, cause, you know, safety issues. But I don't even know how to describe that feeling. Just like I don't know how to describe the feeling of driving home from Cassie's and seeing every light on the street, and thinking that when you get home you're going to turn that box on and your house is going to light up, and then it not happening. And not understanding what's going on, and then calling the power company and asking them, you know, what's going on, and having them lie to you. I don't know if people out there know. The power companies were lying to people. Because I called them. She's like, okay, I put you down, like, on a list. They'll get you. And when I called, I started with, I know, I know we're not a priority, but I just want to put this, like, down so you know. And she started talking about the tsunami in Japan. Excuse me, I know, I'm an informed person. I know that's a tragedy. I started my call out with, I know this isn't, super important, but I just want to let you know. So if some of your guys are around and you can get to it. So then she's like, okay, I put you on, like, the list. And my mom calls back a day later to follow up, and the guy tells her, well, there's no list. I would just like to end this by thanking anyone who helped out with Sandy relief, or who donated, or who even helped morally, you know, moral support to anyone involved. And I will see you again, and my hair's had enough, and I'll see you later. Bye.